Well, it seems interesting to me to take that particular position on a definition of veganism that just wants to minimize animal suffering and death to the greatest extent possible within the bounds of what won't cause an ecological disaster. So there's, under that definition, yeah, there probably is some amount of like wildland that you probably want to nuke in order to keep animals from dying and suffering in perpetuity. Or to the least degree possible. But to get to the data that I was talking about here, in the VC text here, you can see that as cropland goes up, the taxonomic, they call it in the paper, they call it taxonomic distinctiveness. It's basically just a fancy way of saying how many species are on the land. It's like less than half as much. When you have like really densely saturated cropland, it's less than half as much as having like as equally as densely saturated kind of pasture land. So there's twice as many species on pasture land than there is on cropland. Now, when we're talking about total animal death or suffering, this would imply actually that there's probably less animal death or suffering on cropland, because having more taxonomic distinctiveness on pasture land implies more predation, and more predation implies more animal death and more animal suffering. So from here, I mean, you could make an argument that it's likely the case that there's probably more animal death and suffering on pasture land as opposed to cropland.
Truth be known, veganism is an absolute bloodbath and torture train. The annual number of animals slaughtered and maimed in the name of grains, nuts, seeds, roots, tubers, fruits, and vegetables is absurdly gargantuan. Farmers routinely unleash an arsenal of deadly weaponry upon squirrels, rabbits, raccoon, mice, rats, possum, groundhogs, ground squirrels, moles, voles, deer, birds, turtles, frogs, bees, aphids, crickets, grasshoppers, worms, caterpillars, grubs, ants, and many, many more, who compete for the nuts, seeds, fruits, leaves, and tubers so sought after by the human herbivore population. Come harvest time, combines and harvesters unavoidably shred millions of living critters who are living and breathing among the crops. It is a cold, cold heart that can ignore the palpable suffering that's required to bring plant-based foods to the plates of culpable vegans around the world. Vegetable farmers begin their annual reign of hell on earth by tilling the soil. Tillage kills all sorts of soil life and completely disrupts a healthy soil horizon profile. Each time a farmer tills a field, massive carbon emissions are released from the soil, downgrading soil carbon and quality each and every time. This is the real driving force of global desertification. Then, to keep the vegetable and fruit heathens supplied with their fix, the farmers wage war against nature with the sides. Side is a suffix that means to kill, and boy do they. These vegetable and fruit farmers spray and sprinkle indiscriminate bactericides, herbicides, insecticides, and rodenticides. In addition to conventional chemical warfare, they also attack with live traps, steel traps, drown traps, pistols, rifles, shotguns, dogs, and grain grinders. All this killing is not just a one-time event either. This is an annual cycle of schizophrenic annual cruelty that repeats itself year in and year out, dealing out misery, bloodshed, and environmental havoc and chaos in the name of veganism. Meanwhile, one pasture-raised grass-fed cow can feed one human being for 3.5 years, while not sabotaging human health with the inflammatory excess of omega-6s, toxins, and anti-nutrients that plant foods bring to the table. It's pretty clear that vegans do not love animals. Vegans do not love people. They know that more animals are killed and maimed through veganism than any other way of eating, and yet they push harder, because their ultimate schizophrenic goal is to plow, pesticide, and genocide this planet into a sterile and lifeless has-been. Thanks for watching.